Hi, I want to welcome everyone. I've got people tuning in on Instagram, tuning in on Facebook, and then of course I'm streaming live on YouTube at the same time. Welcome to what is the final episode of season 1 of my Stories of Everyday Women series. This song that you're listening to now, funnily enough, I don't know if it inspired the series or I was inspired to do the series and then I heard this song. But the lady who joined us in the very first episode, this is her song. And this song represents the journey that I am on and that I have been on, if I'm being honest about that. So I wanted to share a little bit of that with you. And I'm hoping that you can hear me over that noise. How dare I? Over that beautiful song. I'm just going to pause that right there. That is the beautiful Taisha. And she joined me. If you have tuned in from the very beginning, Taisha joined me on the very first episode, and it feels both overwhelming to be at what is the end of this particular series, and quite humbling to have been on the journey and shared stories with different women from different walks of life, from different areas of the world, who have all lived and arrived where they are today and showing up in the world, sharing their own superpowers. So this series was in honor of women whom I'd never met. And now, thanks to the actual work that's been done over the last 3 months, I feel as though that there is a virtual sisterhood that is available not only to me, but available to you if you choose to go back and listen to those stories. So I want to thank all the ladies who have joined me throughout the season, and I want to thank all the listeners. And tonight is all about hearing some of my story, or at least to hopefully answer some of the questions that were asked of me. I've only got, when I say only got, I have about 4 or 5, but I want to open up the floor if anyone has any questions as well, if they would like to ask. If you're on Instagram, I'll try and keep an eye out on my left. And if you're on Facebook, I believe that you'll need to accept StreamYard. Hang on. Let me see. There we go. You'll need to accept StreamYard permissions. Admittedly, I'm not too sure what they do with your information. I don't believe they do anything, to be fair, but I believe it's just a privacy policy. So if you would like to make comments and if you would like to ask me any questions, I will try and endeavour to answer those this evening. And if I don't get the chance, I will save them up for later and try and answer them for you then. So what I'll do is I'll just take a moment to pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the land that I am seated on, the Wurundjeri tribe. I want to pay my respects to their elders past, pay my respects to their elders present, and what I feel to be very important, their emerging leaders of tomorrow. So I want to pay gratitude because I believe, and in fact, I'm going to borrow from the words of all the women that I've interviewed over the season, but I believe that we walk in the footsteps of those who have gone before us. And so I feel very privileged to be where I am, and really even more privileged to arrive here. And I'm actually going to start off a little bit different, and I'm going to share what is if it's not the first live that I did, it would be the first or second. And it was approximately 10 months ago that I did that live. So I'm going to share a snippet of that. And I hope that through me sharing that and answering some of the questions, you can see what has been my journey throughout these really just 10 months. And so some of the themes that we'll cover today is really just understanding, how I arrived where I have. And I know that I speak a lot about my journey specifically in the last 12 months. So I want to be as dynamic as I can with answering those questions and maybe just give you some insight into the way I think and how I arrived here where I am today. But I do want to highlight too, for those of you that are joining me, that, and you'll see in just a minute, it has been a journey in itself. It has been challenging. It has been, it's been rewarding, but it has definitely given me the opportunity to grow, not just in this series, but to grow personally over this last 12 months. And so I thought, what better way than to share just a couple of minutes, maybe not even that, maybe a minute of where I started off at the beginning of this year. And then hopefully you can, draw your own comparisons. And for those of you who have been following me since the very beginning, you might remember this, you might not. So I'm going to press play. I'm going to get a little bit up close and personal with y'all. And I know if you're watching on Insta, you'll hear this, but you will not be able to see it. So give me a second, guys. Okay. All right.
Honestly, over the last couple of weeks, the one thing that I have known is that I have to just take action. And that's what I've been doing. And I really, I didn't know what I was going to do or why I was going to do it. I just knew that I had to do things, whatever it was. And yesterday I something just dropped, and I know exactly where I'm going. And I actually know how I'm going to get there. For those of you I know that are watching this, I don't want anyone to worry about me. If you know me, you know I got this. 100% I got this. But I'm just going to do it like I always do, a little bit unconventionally. And you're going to see some stuff. I'm basically going to, keep it real, which if you know me, you know I'll keep it real. But it might make some of you a little bit uncomfortable to see that. So I'm just forewarning you.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I was looking back through all the footage, not all of it, but looking back through previous posts, both on Instagram and then, on Facebook. And it's so interesting to kind of backtrack a journey. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about social media, is that we have that opportunity to go and have a look back at memories. And for those of you who leverage social media or digital marketing for your own businesses, I would encourage you to go and have a look at your work and look at it from the perspective of, being able to identify for yourself just how far you've come and the kind of learning that you have gained during that time. That's the amazing tool that is social media, both positive and negative. So you've got to sort of, gain a thick skin, I believe, to some extent, so that you can just move past your own thoughts. But I feel very grateful to be able to look at that and go, okay, all right. And yes, that was 42 weeks ago, according to Instagram. So yes, I've definitely done things unconventionally. And hang on, give me a second. Yeah, I've definitely done things unconventionally, and I have definitely just dived in and given it a go. So let's get into the good stuff, huh? So you'll have to forgive me because I wasn't too sure what some of these questions might have meant behind. So I've just interpreted things the way I feel they were meant to be delivered. And so the first one is, why did you decide to make a career change? And look, I feel as though that's a topic that I do share quite often. And so I wanted to look at it from a different angle and to share some perspective. And hopefully for those of you who are yourselves on this journey of not only just self-discovery, but of sharing yourself and sharing your work and stepping into vulnerability and or stepping into certainty and confidence within your own self. I think, look, when it comes to, there's no right or wrong, but I do believe that my journey started long before any action was taken. So if I think back, say more than 12 months ago, if I think back when I first started my corporate career, I don't know about you or anyone else has ever had this feeling, but I always had this feeling like there's got to be more to it than this. Or, definitely later on, I thought surely I would be further along than what I am right now. And it was really like a constant. And so if I look back when I first started in, say, corporate, when I first started, I was just happy, firstly, to have a job. I was happy to really just do it well. I was happy to, turn up, be on time, do all the right things, be punctual, provide good service, meet my targets or my KPIs, and really just, fit in or blend in, maybe that's the word. So, that's quite a long time ago. But if I think back, that was my perspective. Like, you just want to do a good job. And then opportunities started to come into my, well, opportunities came around. And the first one was, if I think about it, the first opportunity was stepping up, securing a future leader, securing a spot in the future leader program. So I remember looking back at that period and thinking, oh, this is great, you know. It's not like I wanted it, though. It was an opportunity that was given to me. I took the opportunity and thought, okay, well, I've got to prove myself here. I've got to, you know, secure the sort of next promotion. I need to meet my KPIs. I need to do all of these things or hit these certain milestones in order to accomplish something, to feel as though I was contributing in a positive way. And so I feel as though I was on this journey of, okay, hit this milestone, achieve that, and from there I'll gain some sort of satisfaction. But I don't think I ever was really satisfied. So if I look, it just felt like there was one milestone to hit after the other. So I might hit that milestone, hit that KPI, hit those targets, and then it was about the next opportunity, or it was about the next promotion, or it was about the next KPI that needed to be hit, or it was about the next competition. It just felt as though I was always striving for something. I'd arrive and then I'd be in this position where I'd be like, wait, that's it? Okay, come on, there's got to be more to it than this. And I don't ever feel like I was truly satisfied on that journey. I felt as though I was the person that was always looking over the fence to see what was next, or to see what else could be achieved, or to gain the next, you know, to gain the next promotion, to hit the financial figures. And I remember a time, and it's a few years ago, just before I had Gabriel, but I remember sitting there, and I had this beautiful room overlooking the Yarra River. And I remember looking around my room filled with all of these beautiful things. I like beautiful things, like most people, right? I remember looking around, though, really dissatisfied that, like, that was all there was to it. So I had this wardrobe filled with nice things, but I thought there would be more reward. You know, you've done the travel, you've hit some financial goals, you're doing well, you're successful, you can get a job by just turning up at an interview, or you know someone. And again, it was just about, wow, I thought I would be either further along by now than what I was, or I thought there would be more to it than that. So when I think about what a career change meant to me, all those years leading up to less than 12 months ago, when I look at that, I feel as though I had been thinking about change from the very beginning. From the moment I thought there's got to be more to it than this, it took the last trigger to inspire the action. So change really happened the first time I thought there's got to be more to it than this. It just took me a long time. And when I say a long time, like 15 years, a long time before I was inspired or spurred into action, or was triggered into an action and an outcome, if that makes sense. So I think for me, that is what change was all about. That is when the career opportunity started. I just didn't know what I wanted. And I'll talk about that in a moment. So I hope that gives you some insight into why that particular career change. But it definitely was instigated by wanting more for myself, or thinking there was more to it. and never really being satisfied by, well, not being satisfied by material things, not being satisfied with accomplishments when it came to my work, okay? Which I feel blends really beautifully into this next question. And I have a love-hate relationship with this question. I love it because I have the opportunity to work with people in this area, but it's like, wow, if only I had known what I had known. And I'm grateful that I personally didn't know I'm grateful that I didn't arrive where I was meant to until I was, because then I wouldn't know what I know. That sounds a little esoteric, doesn't it? So the next question was, yeah, of course, what did I say? It was originally why. Why do you think people get or feel stuck? So I'm going to say something a little controversial, but I'm going to validate it hopefully enough that you feel that that answer is suffice. So I think for the most part that we sit in being stuck longer than we have to. I'm going to repeat that. I believe that we actually sit in this experience of being stuck or feeling stuck longer than we have to. And why I want to validate that point for you is because I know and I believe that we need to sit in that feeling as long as we need to. We have to go through the journey. We have to discover things about ourselves. We have to go through the challenges in order to arrive at the rewards or to arrive at the point where change happens. And I really do believe that things happen when they're supposed to, right? So it seems strange that I say that, okay, we sit in that experience longer than we have to. And what I mean by that, and this is how I'm choosing to validate it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I believe that we see, I'll use the term red flags because I feel as though that's something that we're all familiar with, right? But I believe there's red flags that show up along the way to go, hey, why? Wake up, get it together, come on. You know, I believe that there are red flags to show us along the way that we need to step out of our experience. So what I'd like to share is that I think if we, and this is one thing I'd love for someone to take away, if we are seeing red flags for ourselves, and I think one of the red flags, and I know personally on my journey, the red flag was being frustrated, being triggered, being angry. And if you are feeling that more often than not, if your emotions or if your experience or the trauma that you're going through is leaving you with a feeling that, I'll use the word shit, but hang on, I'm reacting and I'm hurting people in my environment, I'm hurting people around me. If you're at a point where you are imploding or exploding in some cases, that's your sign. That's the sign going, or the universe, as I like to say, that's the universe saying, wake up, you need to snap out of it. So I believe that we sit in the experience of feeling stuck longer than we have to. And in some cases, we are shown little red flags along the way to say, hey, question what's going on. Why are you feeling this way? And so this leads me into something that I find fascinating and really interesting as well, is this idea that we ask ourselves, I say the wrong questions, but I was thinking about it the last couple of days as I was going through, you know, thinking about how I would respond to these questions. And it was like, I actually don't know if they're the wrong questions. I feel as though they're stupid questions sometimes. But I think we ask ourselves questions and then it's like we almost give up. and the sorts of questions we ask are, why do I feel this way? Or I thought I would be further along. I don't understand what's happening. Why haven't I found love? Or I don't know what I want to do, right? We are often confused around our own situation. We don't know what we want. We don't know what we want to do. We don't know why we don't have this. We don't know why we don't have that relationship. And so what happens in my experience, from what I observe and what I know I live through myself, is that I was asking myself personally all the wrong questions. I was asking myself stupid questions. And then I feel like I gave up at that. I was like, oh, well, I don't know the answer. So I'm just going to sit here and just continue to endure this trauma. So I know, or I believe, that we ask ourselves the wrong questions and then we stop. And to give you an idea of what could be the right questions, and I think every situation is unique, every person is unique, but what could be the right questions are questions like, when was the last time I truly felt alive in what I was doing? When was the last time I jumped out of bed and couldn't wait to get to work? Or when was the last time that, I was able to have a conversation with someone and feel, attracted to that person? Or when did I last feel love? Depending on what the situation is. Like, if you start to ask yourselves like really valuable questions, what you're able to do is actually have a little bit of perspective. You're able to go, you know what, when was the last time I truly felt passionate about what I was doing? And the point that I would love for you to take away from this is, don't give up there. Like, don't just ask yourself, when was the last time I feel passionate? Keep going. Keep asking yourself questions until you arrive at some conclusions. Because when you arrive at a conclusion, or when you arrive at an outcome, you're actually able to take action. You're able to move the needle forward and progress from where you are, that feeling of stuck, to whatever next level might be for you. So I think it's really, really important that we start asking ourselves the right kinds of questions. And then that will enable us to start to make the shifts that we need to. Now, here's what I know. It's challenging as hell. It's uncomfortable. You're going to feel sometimes paralyzed in this feeling, because I believe that you know what the answer is. It's just that we're just not honest with ourselves. It's easier not to be honest, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. I don't want to jump to answer the last question just yet, but I think we need to just ask ourselves more questions so that we can arrive. We can arrive at the beginning, if that makes sense, as opposed to, you know what? Yeah, I don't know why I feel this way. I'm just going to give up. So I hope that answers your question. And it's definitely, for me, about starting to ask yourself really honest questions without expectation that whatever the answer or outcome is from asking those questions needs to be validated right then and there. All you need to know is what makes you happy. If you've got 5 things on your list, you're blessed, firstly. But if you've got 5 things on your list, well, that's better than having nothing on your list and sitting in that experience and trauma. And that's what I mean by sitting in the experience longer than we need to. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that I answered your question. These two here, yeah. So I think so this one here was, well, how do you get, or how do you stay motivated? Well, that's the $1 million question, right? How do you stay or get motivated? And I don't think there's a simple answer. I think there's a whole bunch of different answers that all add up to one. And I think firstly, it starts with having a well-being toolkit. So a bunch of things that you can do that make you feel better for having done them. That's what a well-being toolkit means to me, that I feel better for having done that. I feel better for having lived in that experience. And that could be anything. That could be catching up with people you love. I like to use the reference of exercise because you never feel terrible for having done exercise. And I know there's probably a few people out there that could throw us a few examples and go, well, actually, but no, seriously, you always feel better. You feel confident afterwards. You feel fitter, you feel lighter, you feel healthier. So you never feel worse for having done exercise. And that's why I think it is really important. But like anything, we get so ambitious. And I know I share about my tools, stupidly, ridiculously achievable goals, which to me is like the game changer. Stop being too ambitious with the goals that you set for yourself, because we're ambitious people, right? We want to achieve so much. Some of us might not, but generally speaking, we want a certain lifestyle. We want a certain level of life for ourselves, for our families, for the people around us, for the community. We want something outside of that. So we're ambitious. The problem with ambition is that you can feel like you never arrive. And I feel as though all those years, I was never satisfied because I would never arrive anywhere. And when I'd arrive where I thought, I needed to be, I realized actually that this isn't where I want to be. So, I just get carried away. So, wellbeing toolkit, number 1. But number 2, surround yourself with people. And here's the beautiful thing about today's virtual landscape is that you can access anyone. All of the world's leading coaches are online. They're on Instagram. They're on LinkedIn. They're on Facebook. They're everywhere. You can access this stuff. Everyone's doing a lot of content for free. There's podcasts, there's videos, there's YouTube. There's so much information out there. Surround yourselves with people who not only inspire you, but will infect you to take action. I hope that sounds right. Infect action. You know what I mean, right? Surround yourselves with those types of people. If you don't have them in your immediate community, if they don't live in your household or live down the road, or, people that you speak to regularly, go and find them in your community. People are readily available. And I know the person that asked me this, so I really just want to position this as well. If you're someone who is working in this online space, so someone like, say, myself. Now, I did do this, and I believe that everyone should. Firstly, go and get help. And when I say go and get help, if it's coaching that you need, if it's training that you need, if it's a course that you need, if it's, joining a club or, surround yourself with those people. Go and get help. And surround yourselves with the kind of people that you want to be like. Go and hang out with people who are doing what you want to do if you're not doing it already, especially in this type of environment. You saw me, that was literally 42 weeks ago, that video I played at the beginning. It said 42, 43, whatever. But, that was less than a year ago. And it might look like I was confident, and whether I was or I wasn't, it doesn't really matter. But the journey that I've been on, if you go and have a look at any of my content, go and look at episode number 1, right, of the Stories of Everyday Women series, if you want to see a journey, right? So go and surround yourselves with people that inspire you. And if you're, if you're looking to include showing up and doing lives or any digital work at all where you're front and center, then be around people who are going to champion you. Find those role models wherever they are. Find the role models. If you're in network marketing, go and find those role models. I think it's really important in that space as well, because the problem is that you got to sink or swim. And what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to accelerate your journey in whatever you're doing. And if I didn't go and get help, I would not be here 42 weeks later talking to you, having created this series, right? And I haven't spoken this entire time. It's been about, well, that's not true. It's been about me interviewing other women, right? But I created the platform to surround myself with women that inspired me. But I did that also, because I wanted to hear their story, and I wanted to be able to pay that forward and share with people, because there's so much power in hearing someone you might not otherwise have known if it wasn't for this series. Is a reality, right? So surround yourself with people that are doing what you want to do. Copy what they're doing, reach out to them. If anyone is in this sort of business or wanting to do a live or a podcast or whatever, then I'm expecting a message from you to say, hey, do you mind if we sit down and have a cup of coffee? Virtual coffee, or whatever. But yeah, so I expect that. I expect people to do that. Why? Because if you want to know how to do it in less than a year, how to be able to stand up here confidently and talk about your story or share a point, whatever you might be doing, then find the people around you to help you accelerate that. Yeah, so that's my answer to that question. I don't know if that answers that being motivated. Yeah, it does. Being motivated, look, I'm not a person who's motivated all the time, but I surround myself with different people, with different tools. Those tools could be coaches sharing their story. Those tools could be, listening to podcasts. Those tools could be reading a book. Those tools could be going for a walk to stay motivated. Anything to stay motivated, whatever it is. And it mix it up. Today it might be a walk. Tomorrow it might be reading a book, listening to a book in my case. Right? Oh, good. I've said that. I do want to share this point. It's in line with the same question. And if you take nothing else, please take this one here. But I believe that you need to start asking the advice of people who are qualified to give you advice. And I'm going to break this down for you, okay? And I hope you're listening. So, and the first time I heard this, I just cracked up laughing. I was like, oh my God, that's so true, right? I think often, firstly, I'm going to put a disclaimer. I think often we don't know that we're asking for advice. When we're catching up with our girlfriends, or we're just talking to a colleague, or we're talking to, associate or whatever, partner, and we're having a conversation, sometimes we're just thinking out loud. I truly believe that. I think we're just thinking out loud. And what happens is the person that we're speaking to, they validate the question, the behavior, the conversation. They validate it with an answer, is what I mean. Doesn't matter what they say, but they validate it with a response. And so what happens is that we start to take on board the expertise of the people around us. And I want to break this down so it's so simple. The easiest way to explain it, and I believe this is the way that I heard it the first time, was if you want advice on how to have a successful relationship, if you're a person who's, never really sort of stuck it out in love, or you seem to kind of go in and out of love, go and ask the advice of experts. Like, don't go and ask your best friend who's never been in a successful relationship in their life. And when I say successful, I don't mean successful like, what I mean by that is go and get the advice of people who are qualified. If it's love, then go and seek the advice of a professional love coach, maybe, or go and chat to your grandparents or your best friend's grandparents and learn about, the secrets to their success in marriage. People who've been married for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years, like go and get varied advice. If that's important to you, and it doesn't matter what area, it could be fitness, it could be health, but go and get qualified advice. Stop taking the advice of people who know nothing about whatever it is that you're seeking or searching for. Okay. And I thought that was really important, especially when it was that they shared the same notion about love. It made perfect sense. Like if it's really, really important for you, not only from the perspective of finding love, but I think if you've got a family or you're wanting to have a family, then it's more than just finding a person. It's introducing people into your life that will, also fall in love with all the other aspects of who you are, which in this case is family or friends and all of those things. So go and seek the advice of people who are qualified. Stop taking the advice of those who aren't qualified. All right, so that's something I really wanted to share with you. Oh, this is going to be controversial, so I'd love to hear your thoughts. So this is the question. What do you think is the biggest challenge for women when they get started? And I'm assuming this is in business. It didn't actually say. So here's my answer to that. And listen, firstly, I'm the youngest of 15. I've got big brothers. I've got nephews I adore. I've got brother-in-laws. I've got a son. I've got friends who are men that I love. So this isn't about me doing the whole matriarch versus patriarch thing. So I'm just going to put this as simply as I can without trying to have a bias. I do believe that we've got two people, okay, both varying skills and capability, similar financial situation, whether they have families or they don't. In this scenario, I'm going to choose one I'm familiar with. So they're single parents. They've got the same skill set, same background, same experiences. Like there's nothing that really deviates the two other than one's a man and one's a woman. I'm a bit nervous because I might get a little bit of backlash. Don't worry, I can handle it. But I actually believe that if a man was to turn around and say, you know what, I've decided that's it. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to start my own business. I'm sick of working for someone else. I just want to earn my own money, work life on my terms. And yeah, that's it. That's it. It's happening. I believe what happens is that if a man were to say that it would be perfectly acceptable. We would go, good on you. Man, that's fantastic. You're going to smash it. Like, you're brilliant. I don't know why you didn't do it sooner. Right? Imagine that conversation. Yeah? Imagine the response. But I think if you're, in my case, and it was something similar, but I think for women, it's like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do that? Well, how are you going to pay the rent? What if it doesn't work out? What about your kids? I feel as though if it's a woman versus a man situation, we are, when it comes to women, and I feel women are guilty of doing this to us as well. I believe that we go, are you sure? We're quite security conscious. Like, but what if it doesn't work out? What are you going to do? Like, oh, that's okay. Well, I've got you. If anything happens, you can come. We'll figure it out together. But if it's a guy, it's like, don't worry, you've got this. You'll figure it out. Yeah. Don't look. The kids will look up to you. It's a good thing. You're going to go through the challenges. You're going to go through the struggles. But eventually you're going to figure it out, mate. So, look, good luck to you. I'd do the same thing, but, blah, blah, blah. And I truly believe that. I think that we limit other women, me talking to other women, I believe that we limit each other. And I believe it's because we're security conscious, because potentially we've got more to lose, right? Same. In my mind, I'm like, well, hang on. Mate, I'm going to figure this out. I've figured everything else out. What have I got to lose? I mean, 10 months ago, you saw that girl at the beginning. I love how I said, oh, yes, I've got this. I know exactly how I'm going to do it. Well, I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it. But the advice that I just gave you, I did all of those things. I figured it out along the way. I found people and I gravitated towards people, and I found tools and I found coaches. And that helped me accelerate my journey from where I was to where I am today, to being able to speak to you and share my story with you. So, you know, I can say for myself that I had conversations like that. They didn't quite sound like that, but I had conversations like that because I feel as though we just want to wrap each other up in cotton wool. And, you know, believe it or not, and I'm sure that you would agree that conversation starts when we're young, when we think about it, right? Boys fall over. Oh, you'll be right, mate. Get up. Girl falls over. Oh, don't worry, baby. You shouldn't climb trees, right? And guess what? We never climb trees again. I don't climb trees, so I don't know if that's a good analogy, but I really do feel as though there's almost this double standard, and I feel as though women are just as guilty because we're security conscious. In some cases, we may have more to lose. Right. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. I figured it out. No. So I hope I'm keen to hear your thoughts on that. And yeah, I do believe that we as women are just as guilty. And I don't believe it's intentional. I just believe that we're looking at it from our own perspective, sometimes from a place of fear. So when we do that, what happens is that we're in some cases reflecting our own fear, but we're also transferring that experience. Sorry to spat that across the room. We're also transferring our experience, our personal sort of belief system onto the other person. There you go. I hope that answers your question. Controversial or not. Guess what? That's it. Wow. Oh my God. I've been talking forever. Well, that was it. So I hope that, I really enjoyed thinking about those questions. I put a lot of thought into it. And, when I look back at all the interviews that I've done, and I put everyone on the spot, like I was like, no, we'll just figure it out. We'll just wing it. You've got this. And now I'm like spending days. Ooh, wait, what am I going to say? I need to think about this. But there you go. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the series. If, you're just, tuning in for the first time, go and check out all the replays on YouTube. There's some amazing women that I interviewed throughout the season. And we will be back. Disclaimer, I don't want to put a timeline because that's pressure, but we'll be back in a few weeks. And next season is going to be something completely different. And we're going to be hearing, I'm not going to give too much away, but we're going to be hearing the other side, if that makes sense. Wink, wink, wink. So you heard it from me. So, so thank you so much for tuning in throughout the season. As I said, please go back and have a look at some of the reruns. There's some amazing women that I've had the privilege of meeting and interviewing. And I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts. Like, tag me in the post and sort of, tell me what you got from this evening's session. Tell me what you've gotten from any of the previous sessions. And as always, I'm a firm believer in this. When we gain knowledge or when we receive something that helps us to kind of pivot or to move the needle in our own lives, go and pay that forward, whatever it might be. Go and pay it forward. Go and share that with a friend, share it with a loved one. Well, your friend will be a loved one, but go and pay it forward. Go and share that with someone else. We never know just how much of a difference one story can mean in someone else's life. We truly don't. And if I look back on the last 10 months and the work that I've done in my own life, and look, I'm not perfect. By all means, I am not perfect. But I know that I am figuring it out as I go. And I feel very, very grateful to be in the position that I am, working with women who inspire me. And, if you're interested in working with other women, like, connect with me. I'll help you figure it out. Okay. So I'll see you soon. You can catch me Sundays and most days actually over on Instagram, just at my handle. As always, it's just my name. I feel very thankful to have everyone's time and to be sharing space with you, not just this evening, but the last 12 months. Okay. Bye.